U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken leaves later today for the Middle East. He will be landing in a region set further on edge by the killing of a top Hamas leader in Lebanon.
I'm not going to get into that specific detail, but we were not informed in advance.
Washington isn't saying publicly who it believes was behind the airstrike that killed the Hamas deputy leader in Beirut. And so far, the Israeli government won't confirm or deny it carried out the attack. But Hamas and Hezbollah in Lebanon both blame Israel. Trent Murray joins us live from Tel Aviv. Trent, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken comes at a precarious moment in the war. What should we be watching for?
Yeah, good morning, Trisha. That's right. This will be the fifth visit for Secretary Blinken to Israel in the wake of October 7th, and he comes really at a time when it feels like tensions are ratcheting up rather than subsiding. I think there are a couple of key areas that we are tracking and expect discussions around. First and foremost is the situation in Gaza. We know the US has publicly and privately been looking to Israel to signal when it's going to move away from this high-intensity warfare using airstrikes to something more targeted. That comes as the death toll continues to mount within the Gaza Strip. The Hamas-run health ministry saying now over 22,000 civilians have been killed. But we are also expecting a discussion around getting some much needed aid into that region. The UN is saying around 40% of people living there are now in danger of suffering famine in the immediate term. We have to focus as well on the hostages. There's still around 129 of them being held by Hamas within Gaza. There are American citizens there, and there is certainly pressure building here in Israel for the government to do more to get them home. And I think we also just have to keep an eye on the wider region, and in particular, that Red Sea region. It was around a fortnight ago that the Pentagon announced with much fanfare the launch of Operation Prosperity Guardian, moving a really large number of naval assets into the region to try and deter those Houthi rebels, to stop them attacking civilian shipping. But it hasn't seemed to slow down their enthusiasm to target container vessels. We've seen more rocket attacks in recent days, even an attempted hijacking on a cargo vessel. So I think there will be some discussions around whether more needs to be done to try and secure that vital shipping lane. It comes as some of the world's busiest and biggest shipping companies say they are simply avoiding that region right now, even with a US aircraft carrier strike group positioned there. As I say, it hasn't deterred those Houthi rebels from trying to disrupt those vital shipping lanes.
Trent, let's also talk about what could be considered the flashpoint for Blinken's visit, the killing of the Hamas deputy leader in Beirut. What's the latest in that situation?
Well, we were tracking last night here, local time, a pretty major speech by the head of Hezbollah, Hassan Nasrallah, and he was expected to respond to what happened in Beirut, and he did. He said that this crime, as he described it, would not go unpunished. He squarely laid the blame at Israel and went on to say that Hezbollah was ready for an all-out war with Israel, and that if it came to that, his fighters would push back with no limits. Now, this is coming from a group that possesses a very large arsenal of rockets, including long-range ones that can reach deep within Israel. We know it is part of what they describe as the axis of resistance, very much linked to Iran, groups based in Syria, in Iraq, in Lebanon and in Gaza that consider Israel their enemy. We know that many here within the Israeli government have been very closely watching for any sort of signal from Hezbollah around whether they want to escalate this potential flashpoint. The Israeli army is right now in its highest state of readiness. We have seen commanders visit the Northern Command overnight, telling those troops to remain on standby. It is those types of flashpoints that I think Secretary Blinken will be trying to just lower the temperature on somewhat, as many in this region are worried that the arena of this conflict could now expand to include Lebanon.
Thanks, Trent. That's Trent Murray in Tel Aviv.